my name is Apora, and I'm not sensitive, I'm just vibing. I hope you're having a great week. Today, I was reflecting on something my mom used to say when I was younger. Remember, we don't live in a democracy, we live in a democratic republic. It was her go to response anytime someone referred to America as a democracy. It felt like a gotcha moment, as if saying republic justified some anti democratic action taken by the government. Recently, I saw this exact sentiment pop up in a TikTok comment and it stuck with me. The thing is, my mom and that TikTok commenter aren't wrong. We do live in a republic, as the Pledge of Allegiance confirms, but they might not be making the point they think they are. Without further ado, let's dig into it. I'm not sensitive, I'm just in a democratic republic. People who say we live in a republic generally tend to be Republican. They see the word that seems to relate to their beliefs and use it as a defense in their arguments. Because they are governmental systems that can exist separately, let's break it down by defining each term before they merge together. What is a democracy? The term democracy comes from the ancient Greeks. A direct democracy is a system where the people make decisions themselves. Think of citizens gathering in an assembly to vote directly on laws and policies. But as populations grew, this system became impractical. That resulted in the creation of representative democracy, where we vote for a small group of people to represent our interests and make decisions on our behalf. For a deeper dive in the historical evolution of democracy, philosophers like Aristotle and John Locke play crucial roles in the shaping of our modern understanding of representative democracy. What is a republic? A republic is a form of government where the power is held by the people and exercised through representatives. The government's legitimacy comes from the consent of the governed. Interestingly, republic doesn't always mean democracy. Even a monarchy can be considered a republic if the people agree to that form of rule. This distinction became significant in the 17th and 18th century when the United States declared independence from the British monarchy. Colonists felt that, without representation in Parliament, the British system was unjust. Thus, the newly formed US chose a republic to ensure sovereignty belonged to the people. So, what is a democratic republic? A democratic republic is a blend of both systems. Institutions are verified by us, the republic, aka the citizen body, and leaders are elected by us, the people. It's the classic idea of a government of the people, by the people, for the people. But here's where things get tricky. When my mom or a TikTok commenter says, "We're not a democracy, we're a democratic republic," they're often hinting that the imperfections of our systems are not just exactly that. They are saying that when our representatives don't act in the people's interest, and institutions designed to protect us seem to work against us, it is on purpose, and we, the people, agreed to it. Without their realization, they are selling our rights down the river because of the misconception that our party systems, Democrat and Republican, are directly related to the governmental system. Just because you relate to one party or another does not mean you're more or less part of a democratic republic than any other person who lives in said democratic republic. Our Constitution defines us as a democratic republic, emphasizing liberty, justice, and freedom for all. Yet, those ideals have often been compromised. So, it's worth asking if our institutions still serve the people, and are our representatives acting for us or for themselves? To understand these questions, I'd like to talk about John Locke, one of the most influential thinkers behind modern democratic ideas. Locke's political philosophy, especially in his work, Two Treatises of Government, argued that there are natural rights, meaning that everyone is entitled to life, liberty, and property. We need a government by consent, meaning the legitimate governments derive their power from the consent of the governed, and we should have a right to rebellion. So if a government fails to protect citizens' rights, the people have a right to change or overthrow it. These ideas heavily influenced the American Revolution and the US Constitution. Locke believed that representative democracy was the best way to protect individual freedoms, but he also warned that if representatives abused their power, the system would devolve into tyranny. Fast forward to today, and Locke's concerns feel eerily relevant. Are our representatives still safeguarding our rights? Or have they become part of an oligarchy, a rule by the few for the few? Let's vibe with the times. I'd like to introduce this segment to my podcast. It takes a few moments to take what we're talking about and frame it into an historical context. We'll be asking a few questions and taking some time to imagine that we are living in the same time that are relevant in our conversation today. Now that we've broken down what a democratic republic is, let's ask some questions. Would the American forefathers recognize today's government as a democracy? What would philosophers like John Locke or Aristotle have to say about our current system? And more importantly, how did we get here? When the founding fathers established the US, they were deeply skeptical of direct democracies. In fact, James Madison, one of the key authors of the Constitution, warned the dangers of mob rule. The idea of giving power directly to all citizens made the elites nervous. They didn't want impulsive, uninformed decisions swaying the direction of the country. So they created a representative democracy with a republic framework to balance power. But here's the thing. The system they designed was built for a smaller, more homogeneous population. I know it's said often, but it still holds true that only white land-owning men could vote back then, and the number of citizens represented by each legislator was tiny compared to today. Fast forward to 2025, and we've got 330 million people in the United States, a diverse, sprawling nation where one representative in Congress might be responsible for hundreds of thousands of constituents. It's a huge shift in scale. Would the Founding Fathers see today's Congress, with its corporate lobbying, partisan gridlock, and endless campaign financing, as a healthy democracy? I imagine if John Locke were chilling in some philosophical afterlife lounge, sipping his metaphysical tea, he'd probably have a lot to say. Remember, Locke believed in a government by consent, and he argued that if government fails to protect citizens' rights, the people have a right, maybe even a duty, to change it. Now, think about the issues like gerrymandering, where voting districts are drawn to favor one party over others, voter suppression tactics, like limiting polling stations or imposing strict ID laws, and special interest groups that influence policy through massive donations. Would Locke see this as a system truly based on the consent of the governed? Probably not. He'd likely say that when representatives are more accountable to corporations and donors than to the people, the system is slipping into an oligarchy, a government ruled by a powerful few. And what about Aristotle? He categorized governments into three main types: monarchies that are ruled by one person, aristocracies, which are ruled by the best qualified, or a polity, a balanced government where power is shared and the common good is prioritized. But he also warned that these could all decay. A monarchy could become a tyranny, aristocracies could turn into oligarchies, and polity could collapse into mob rule. He might look at modern America and probably say this isn't a polity. It's an oligarchy wearing a costume of democracy. The wealthy and powerful hold the reins, while average people struggle to have their voices heard. One of the reasons I love to study politics and history is because of the patterns. As messy as humans are, our societies fall into predictable cycles. Ancient Rome, for example, started as a republic, but eventually fell into corruption, power struggles, and authoritarian rule. Philosophers like Locke and Aristotle gave us warnings as much as they gave us frameworks. They understood that even the best designed systems can decay if citizens don't stay engaged and hold their leaders accountable. So, we are back in 2025. We have an idea of what a democratic republic is. What does this mean for us? It means we need to ask ourselves some pretty tough questions. Who is really representing us? Which institutions are protecting our rights and which are undermining them? And are we truly living in a government of the people, by the people, for the people? I would like to emphasize that these questions aren't just philosophical musings. They affect our daily lives, our rights, and our future. The more we deal with these ideas and engage with the patterns of history, the better we can understand where we stand and where we want to go. At the end of the day, we each have a right to form our own conclusions about how we are governed. History offers us definitions and patterns that help us understand the messy reality of politics. Philosophers like John Locke give us the tools to evaluate our leaders and institutions. Today we asked, what is a democratic republic? Now that we know, maybe it's time to ask, are we still functioning as one? Thank you for being with me today, and until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and remember, we're not sensitive, we're just in a democratic republic. Hit subscribe on YouTube at I'm Not Sensitive, I'm Just Vibing, and leave a like and comment if you enjoy. If you want to hear more from me outside of YouTube and Spotify, you can find me on TikTok at zipporah.insjv, Blue Sky at zipzopzoom.bsky.social, or you can always slide into my inbox on notsensitive.vibing@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great week. Bye!